Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a really awesome new deck that did pretty gosh darned well at the London International Championships. It is actually a deck with Raichu and Heatmor, and it was taken to 16th place by Sonder Waschik, and I'm sorry about the terrible pronunciation, although I know it is Sonder, I know that for a fact, but as for the last name, let's not try saying that again. It's probably not going to go all that well. So, two main cards here. Let's start off with Raichu. Raichu is a great card. It's got an ability that when you evolve up, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. Just instant automatic paralysis. That is absolutely wonderful. When they're paralyzed, they cannot attack or retreat for one turn. So unless they've got something like, I don't know, a Guzma that they can afford to use, they've got absolutely nothing. Hey ho. That's pretty much what Raichu does. It technically could attack, but it doesn't. The other main card in this deck is Heatmor. Heatmor here for a double colorless energy can use Odor Sleuth. Flip 2 coins for each heads. You may put one card from your discard pile into your hand. Now this might remind you of the old Sableye card, but remember that Sableye only allowed you to grab item cards, whereas this is any card, but it is on a coin flip. And then along those lines, we should probably mention Victini from Guardians Rising. Victini from Guardians Rising says that if you flip a coin for your attack, if you don't like the way it comes out, that's okay. You just get to re-flip it. I.e., if you don't get at least one heads, that's okay. You can re-flip to try and get a heads the next time. That sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. And the aim of this deck is very simple. You want to make sure that you use Raichu every single turn to paralyze your opponent, and then they can't attack and they can't do anything, so they lose the game there and then. As long as you keep the paralysis lock going, they don't do anything. Some turns they're going to have a Guzma, and maybe they take a prize, but taking one prize every turn you get a Guzma when you can't play that many Guzma isn't going to win you that many games. No, ladies and gentlemen, the Raichu lock is full. The other card which is absolutely vital, and I mean it's how the deck works here, absolutely vital, is Devolution Spray. Because of course you can't just keep evolving Raichu every single turn. You need to have multiple Pikachus on the bench. You evolve into Raichu, then you can use Devolution Spray to devolve your Raichu down into a Pikachu, ready to then evolve next turn, and so on and so forth. Well, your number one target in most games when using Odor Sleuth will be Devolution Spray, so that you can get your Devolution Sprays back, so that you can devolve your Raichu, so that you can then evolve a different Pikachu. And we don't often talk about the pre-evolutions in length in these videos, but I've got to mention the promo Pikachu. The promo Pikachu is incredibly important because it's got 70 HP. Something like a Greninja Break can get a KO on a 60 HP Pikachu, but not a 70 HP Pikachu. Something like a Decidueye GX with 3 Feather Arrows can get a KO on a 60 HP Pikachu, but not a 70. Sonder did play one of the 60 HP Pikachu just because it's got Colorless Nuzzle. You can use Nuzzle for a double Colorless rather than a rainbow, but generally 60 HP is the way to go. Although you will notice that both the Pikachu have Paralyze on a coin flip attack. This is very deliberate because if you don't get a Raichu evolved, then with a Victini on the bench, you've then got a 75% chance of paralyzing with Pikachu while you wait to get your Raichu out. The Pikachu here are extremely important. In terms of the other Pokemon in the deck, we've got one Tapu Lele GX just to help you set up. It's Tapu Lele. You use Wonder Tag for a Bridget. We know we've been there. And then there's a couple of random techs floating around. We have got the Durant from Breakpoint. Very nice. For 2 rainbow energy essentially, scrape down. If this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. Generally this is a deck out deck, but you're decking them out by just giving them turn after turn where they can't do anything, rather than actively discarding the top cards of their deck. However, you can do that. Durant's a good play. If you've got just, an opponent with 6 cards left in their deck, then you use Durant and you can make sure that they physically cannot draw enough cards to win before they deck out. It's not an every game Pokemon, especially as it takes 2 energy attachments, but it's pretty good. Jirachi's got Stardust, 10 damage, discard a special energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, and then you get immunity the following turn. Again, having a Pokemon in the active with immunity is basically the same as your opponent's active being paralyzed. Either way, they're not taking a prize unless they use something like a Guzma, but they've only got so many of them. And finally, Xurkitree GX. Xurkitree GX, 2 good things about it. The GX attack here puts an extra prize down, but also it puts it down from their hand. So if they've got a card that would be really good against you, like a Guzma or a Switch or something like that, you can then put it down in their prizes so they don't have access to it immediately. But also, they've got to take 7 prizes rather than 6. The whole point of this deck is you're putting your opponent on a clock to take the prizes before they deck out. This makes it harder, although the ability here does give immunity to Xurkitree from all Pokemon with special energy attached. So if you're against a deck that plays pretty much entirely special energy, this might win you the game. Now, in terms of energy, 4 double colourless because Odosleuth takes double colourless energy. Simple as that. It can be used for one of your Pikachu, but really it's just here for Odosleuth. 2 rainbow energy because sometimes you need to flip for paralysis with Pikachu. Sometimes you need to attack with Durant. Sometimes you need to use Xurkitree's GX attack. Rainbow energy will allow you to do any of that. And in terms of the trainers, there's lots that we expect to see. There's N and Professor Sycamore because, well, they're the best draw supporters we've got. Sonda did play more N than Sycamore because this deck's got a whole bunch of stuff like Puzzle of Time and Devolution Spray that you want to use. I know you can get it back from the discard with Heatmor, but you'd rather have it in the hand, so fewer Sycamore. To Skylar in this list, Skylar allows you to search for cards like Devolution Spray, like that second Puzzle of Time. It's great in a deck like this, because a lot of turns you just need 1 item. A lot of turns with this deck, as long as you can just evolve into Raichu, your turn's great. Sometimes you need that Devolution Spray, or you need that Ultra Ball. We play a Bridget. Well, of course we play a Bridget. It gets your basics out. Every deck plays a Bridget. A Gladion here. Now, Gladion is important because this deck generally doesn't take many prizes. Which means if you end up with something in the prizes, that can actually be extremely annoying because you then don't have access to it throughout the game. Gladion is a card which allows you to grab a card from your prizes, and in a deck that doesn't take prizes, being able to search is big. There's Lusamine in this deck. Lusamine! You can get back stadiums or supporter cards. Now, this deck doesn't play any stadiums. Maybe it should. We'll see that in a minute. But Lusamine is good here because you get back something like your single Team Rocket's Handiwork. Speaking of which, Team Rocket's Handiwork, really fun. Flip 2 coins for each head, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Sonder only played 1 copy of this, and like I said, this is not a deck which relies on discarding cards. It decks out by locking your opponent out of the game. But sometimes discarding an extra card or 2 can be incredibly handy. He played a copy of Ninja Boy as well. Ninja Boy's really cool. Oh no, I've got a Zorant in the active. I really need to use Odosleuth. In comes Ninja Boy. Oh no, my Heatmor's in the active and I really want to discard some cards with Durant. Play a Ninja Boy, get the Durant out, and I know I've weirdly pronounced that card twice now, sorry about that. Add a rainbow or a double colourless, whatever you need, and boom, you're then attacking with Durant. It might win you the game. Devolution Spray we've mentioned, you use it to devolve Raichu, that's crucial. And we also see Puzzle of Time here. Again, you can get the cards back using Odor Sleuth, but sometimes you're not going to be able to hit enough heads on Odor Sleuth, or sometimes, you know what, you just need more cards than that. Puzzle of Time will help you very nicely. Get cards out your discard like Odor Sleuth, but in addition to Odor Sleuth, which is nice. For Field Blower, because you're really relying on Raichu's ability here to paralyze. Garbodor turns off Raichu's ability. If Raichu doesn't have Raichu's ability, Raichu loses. You need 4 Field Blower. I know you're playing Heatmor, and I know you're playing Puzzle of Time and you can get them back. You need to be able to use Field Blower every turn. Ultra Ball's the best Pokemon search we've got. Nest Ball allows you to search for basics. So you know what? Play a combination of both, because you need to get your basics out. And Rescue Stretcher allows you to recover the Pokemon when they're KO'd. Again, it's just you need cards to recover. Rescue Stretcher works. 1 Floatstone to give one of your Pokemon free retreat, and 2 Counter Catcher. Counter Catcher is basically a Lysander, but a Lysander that doesn't take your supporter slot for the turn if you're behind on prizes. But I've already told you this is not a deck that takes prizes, so you don't have to worry about being behind on prizes. You're going to be behind on prizes. That makes Counter Catcher pretty fun. Now, there are a couple of cards this deck doesn't play that arguably it could. It plays Counter Catcher, but it doesn't play Guzma. Sometimes you're not behind on prizes, you need a Gust effect. There is a strong argument here to play 1 copy of Guzma. And the other thing we've got here is Sea of Nothingness. Sea of Nothingness is a really good card because it says that when your opponent evolves or devolves, they don't get rid of special conditions. Most Raichu decks play this because you don't want your opponent evolving up and then being able to get around your paralysis. And let's face it, paralysis is what wins you the game in this particular deck. So the decision not to play it was almost certainly one of Room. He would have looked at Sonder, the guy playing the deck, he would have looked at the meta and gone, you know what, I don't think there's enough decks that are going to evolve out of this to make it worth making room for it. I personally would say you need to make room for it, because otherwise decks can evolve out of it, and that's going to be very sad. I love this deck. When I looked at the top 32, when we were deciding what to put on stream, the following day, when we were seeing what made top 32, we were looking down the list, we saw there was a Raichu Heatmor. We were delighted. But I want to know what you think about the deck. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.